Alright, how's it going? We're back in part 3 of our Next.js tutorial series. In the last video we added global style sheets and SCSS, and in this video what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and add Express to our next application so that we can have an Express backend. If you actually go ahead and look at Next.js, they'll let you know that they support just a wide range of different kind of server configurations and custom servers. For instance, if you wanted to use Happy or Koa, or if you even wanted TypeScript or anything like that, you could just come to the project's GitHub page, which I'll link in the description, and then you can check out all these different examples, and there are so many. It's actually really cool. I'm creating my own Tailwind CSS build that has Express built in with it. If anybody's interested in seeing how you can get Tailwind set up, then let me know, and I'll go ahead and include that in a future video. But for right now, I don't think a lot of people are actually using Tailwind CSS. I don't want to make that a focus of the project. But what we'll do right now is we'll just go ahead and add Express to our project. So we'll just add Express. Yeah, I'm tempted to add body parser, right now, but we're just going to add Express, and we're going to get it started, and we're going to make sure that everything works here. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to call it server, and I'm going to create an index. Oops, I'm going to create an index file in here called index.js, and we'll just do const express equals require express, and I'm going to actually open up the documentation for this Express server. So I have my own here, but I just want to show you exactly what the project's creator kind of recommends as far as getting Express set up. So basically the idea is that you require Express and you require Next, and then you tell your app to use Next. So it's pretty intelligent the way that it's written. So I'm just going to actually go ahead and create this myself, and then I'll probably actually end up copying what I have in my other project and pasting it over and explaining, because there's a few more detailed configurations that I want to show versus what's actually here in the base example that Zeit is providing for us. So I'll just go ahead and get this started. We do need to have most of this actually, and I'll show you what's important. We need Express and we need Next. This port thing, I'm not going to do this parse int or past that. I'm just going to say process.env.port, just because I'm probably going to end up deploying this to Heroku at the end of the day. This dev constant that Next is giving us is telling us to read from the node environment, and it doesn't equal production. So that's basically going to turn this into a Boolean operator, and what it's going to do is we're going to pass this this Boolean operator to Next, and then we're just going to say that it needs to handle with a request handler, which is part of this this Next framework. So I'm going to pull up my own server configuration here, and I'm kind of going to explain what I've done here and why I'm doing it. But you can see this is pretty similar to what we've already got as far as requiring Express, getting Next in, using this dev process node env thing. I have this set up a little differently for something I was testing out. This is if you wanted to tell next to read from a different directory, you could use that, and then also pass in your dev, and then the handler is the same, and this routes thing, let's not worry about it right now. But what I am going to do is open up another project that I have with Next here. So I'm going to get up here to... this is just a project I was working on with some friends. It's not all that, but it will give us a basic understanding of Next as far as the server is concerned. So this is a small project that I was working on. I'm going to actually copy this and kind of explain where I'm getting it and why I am preferring to use this versus the one that Next is giving us. And then later on, I'll actually go back to that other project that I was working on and show you why I've decided to do certain things. So we're not using Sequelize here just yet, so we'll get Sequelize out of here, and we have our server.listen. Our server is basically just Express, which makes sense. We don't have any routes coming in, so we don't need that right now. So we're just saying app.prepare, which is going to prepare it to go into this next file, or into our next framework, and then once that's done, we're going to actually launch our server. So this actually looks pretty similar to a basic kind of Express configuration, but there are a few things that are different. For instance, we're getting this wildcard, so if you've ever included a client-side React project with an Express backend, then you've seen this. And basically that means grab any route, and you would have to actually tell Express to go ahead and include the index.html and blah blah blah. That's for client side. And server side, we're still going to use this wildcard, and we're still going to use our normal Express request and response objects. But we're gonna no, thank you. That's just my video recorder. But we're gonna have this handle function, which we have up here, which is get request handler, and that's just Next taking care of some of the heavy lifting for us in case we have different kind of routes, and we'll get into that later once we start scaffolding out this project a little bit more. But we're just gonna do a server.listen, which is, if you've ever used Express, you know what .listen means. We're going to pass in our port, and I'm actually going to make that port. And if there's an error, we're just going to throw an error. And if not, we're just going to console log that we're ready on the port. And we're going to catch any exceptions, and we're just going to log the stack for that error exception. And then we're going to exit with, we're going to kill the process with an exit code of 1 so that the server kind of just crashes and burns. So what I'm going to do is right now the only thing that we actually need to do to tell Next that we're using an Express backend is we could do it through the terminal, but I'm just going to modify this this dev command, this dev script that we have here, and instead of doing Next, we're just going to do node server/index.js. And I mean, you can make the argument that you could just do node server, and it's just going to read the index file. I think it's a little bit more easy to understand like this. So if we actually run this, we'll do a yarn run dev, and we're going to see here in a second that this is going to kind of bootstrap our Express application. We're ready on port 3000, and we're all ready to go, and we're raring to get there, and we hit refresh, and Next is kind of just gonna go ahead and get that going for us. So we have everything that we need basically right here. We still have our SaaS. We have our Webpack configuration is still yet to come, but as far as just getting an Express server started, that was super easy, right? Like, how easy was that? If we wanted to add more routes to our project, like for instance, we wanted to do like an API route, we could just do server.get, sorry, slash API slash let's just do shows, and we'll give it our request and our response, and then we'll just do a I guess we'll just do return app.render, and then yeah, I'm just going to do a res.end, and I'm just going to say we made it. So go ahead and save that, and if we notice here, we'll save this, and it's actually not rebuilding. So what you would have to do is you'd have to kill your server, and then you have to restart it, and then you have to wait for next to recompile, and then you have to see if you have an error, and if you do have an error, then you have to kind of fix the error and then go back and recompile, and it's pretty actually annoying. So if we came to API slash, what was it, shows I did, right? Shows? Yeah. So we came here, we get our res.end, and it just says we made it, yay! But you know, if we wanted to actually build our server without like constantly restarting, restopping, the way that it's usually done is you use Node Mon, right? So you just say Node Mon index, server.index.js, and Node Mon will start, and it'll watch the project directory, but actually go ahead and look at what happens. Alright, so now we're ready on port 3000, and we're good to go, and next still has to compile, right? So we come here and we save, and we go back to our home page, and now Next.js doesn't know what to do, because now NodeMon is going to keep restarting, because there's like a little delay, and it puts this whole thing into a tailspin, and we will be able to get there, but Next is just going to keep recompiling, and it can create a lot of issues. So it looks like, at least right now, NodeMon's not going to work. But if you have NodeMon installed, if you don't, you can just do, whoa, I don't know what that was. But you can just do an npm install global NodeMon, and you probably already have it installed. But what you can do on a project by project basis is you can create a NodeMon.json, and basically I think it's .json, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's .json. So basically, if you wanted to tell NodeMon that, yeah, it's .json. So basically what you would do is you would tell NodeMon to look at certain directories and ignore other ones. So we're going to ignore Node Modules, right? But we're also going to ignore .next, because Next has its own hot module reloads already built in. It has a few things already baked into the features of Next. So you actually don't need to watch that directory, because otherwise it's going to send it into a tailspin. But you can tell it to watch your server and any directory and any file, and that the bootstrap file is our index.js, and any extensions that you want to watch you can add here. I don't really need that many. I just need JS and JSON. So I'm just going to pop that into my project right now, and I'm going to come here to package.json, and I'm going to change that to NodeMon. So I can just do a yarn run dev, and now we get our NodeMon running, and it's only watching one file right now, which is our server index.js. And if we go ahead and save this, then NodeMon will kick up, and it'll recompile our server, and it won't do anything with Next. So we're not getting that tailspin that happens. But if we came here and we just save this index.js, Next will recompile. So that makes development a heck of a lot easier. So if we wanted to actually change that to /movies instead of /shows, then all we need to do is restart our Node Mon, which is our server directory. So we don't really need next to go into our tailspin here. We just need our server to restart. So pretty cool that NodeMon allows you to do that, and it's really sweet that Next is able to give you those separation of concerns. And the only thing that we needed to add was our NodeMon.json. Technically, you can make the case that instead of having this NodeMon.json, you can just inline all of your configurations into your NodeMon command prompt. I don't like doing it that way. I think it's a little bit easier to understand with this JSON file, but if you wanted to do that, then I'll just pull up the NodeMon documentation and show you kind of exactly what you can do in case you wanted to exclude certain directories. So let's see here. This is just the NodeMon GitHub page. Alright, yeah, so you would just say like ignore, and you could just do -- ignore, and you can put node modules, and you could do another ignore for .next, and then you can tell it to watch certain directories and this and that. I think it makes a lot more sense to have the JSON file, but if you don't like that having or being there in your project root, then that's your decision. I'm going to leave mine just like this, and I'm going to keep it basically, to me, I feel like this is clean. So let's say we actually wanted to put this route, this API routes in its own file, right? Basically, all we would need to do for that is, let me just kickstart my server again, and I'll show you how to go about actually like adding your own routes file. So just save that, and I'll create a new directory, and I'll just call it routes, and I'll do an index.js in here. And it's like any other React project, Express project, right? Oops, that's the wrong one. So it's like any other Express project where basically you can just tell the server to use a prefixer on any sort of routes that you have. So if I come here to the shows file, it's exactly Express. Like if you know Express, then you know everything that you need to do here, which is very cool. There are some things with Next in order to get your universal routing, but I'll show you that in a future video. Right now, all we want to do is actually just have our router. So we'll make this /movies, and instead of this is all SQLized stuff that I had in my last project, but really all we need to do is a res.end and say we made it, and it's great. So I'll save that, and we're going to export our router, and then in here we could just do a const, we'll just say show routes equals require routes / index.js, and then we'll just do server.use, and we'll do /API, and then we'll do show routes. And let's see here. So it restarted, all of our changes are done, and then if we came here and we came to shows, what was it, API/shows, right? What did I do? Oh, I did /movies, of course. So I did /movies. We did it, and it's great. And we can see that Next actually is not picky about capitalization, which I think is like kind of strange. I don't really like that, but we can configure that later on, hopefully. But pretty easy to just get a route going, right? So in the next video, I'm going to show some more of the configurations that I've done, and I'm going to actually include Tailwind CSS so that you can learn how to do your custom Webpack configurations and your Babel configurations, and make sure that your post CSS loads. But for getting Express off the ground, it was really quick, really fast. In the next video, we're going to add Tailwind. If you're not interested in adding Tailwind or understanding, how Next config kind of handles custom Webpack configurations, then you can just skip to the following video, where I'll be showing how to use the isomorphic unfetch library, which is kind of like Axios for universal React or universal isomorphic applications. Like if you're going to do a React Next.js or Nuxt.js with Vue, you would use a library that would support isomorphic fetching, because you can't really do the same sort of client-side fetching because we're using the same server. And then I'll show you how to do masking your routes with Next.js so that you can have your universal routes and everything works great. And then from there, we'll actually start building just like a small application and get comfortable with Next. So we probably got 4 more videos ahead in this tutorial series, and I hope you stick along. So I'm just going to do my git add all, git commit. And what did we add here? We added a Node Mon configuration and Express back end with routes. All right, so I'll see you soon. Thanks.